Good morning. Sorry I couldn't be with you this morning, but I have to be away at a meeting. I'm going to report to you on 4 issues that I covered at the last CAR meetings, and those issues are public policy, local government relations, taxation and government finance, and lastly, commercial investment. The public policy Issues Forum is designed to provide an opportunity for education, information, networking, and other things regarding public policy committees. At the Public Policy Committee, we had a guest speaker, Linda Gould, who's NAR's Director of Federal Tax Programs. She spoke on pending federal tax legislation. She discussed the budget and the two opposing political forces in Washington. She was of the opinion that nothing would get done before the election, and in the lame duck Congress would be left to deal with the budget deficit and the expiring Bush tax cuts. She didn't paint a very pretty picture of what was going on, but NAR is busy trying to secure the preservation of the mortgage interest deduction, which is probably our most important issue. But Congress is signaling that we can expect the reduction in some tax credits and some tax deductions in order to balance the federal budget. But we'll just have to keep on the issue and wait and see what happens. Local Government Forum is brought together to monitor local issues from the different associations around the state. The idea is to share the information, see what problems are coming up in what areas, and put together a database of information on how to fight the problems as they come up. We've been fairly lucky in our area and have been very successful locally with our Government Affairs Committee being able to fight issues on a local basis. If you're not involved in that, you might consider joining the local government relations committee, and speak to David Klutz about that. The Taxation and Government Finance Committee is a committee that I'm the vice chair of, and we have 4 subcommittees on that. The biggest issue that was discussed in that committee was probably the Federal Accounting Standards Board and the change of the way they want to do some of the accounting. The FASB is seeking to change the way leases are treated in the accounting world. Currently, a lease is just something that a company has. FASB says, well, that lease is a valuable asset, or it's a liability to a company. For example, Starbucks might have thousands of leases around the country that have them in debt or obligated to pay rent in the billions of dollars over the next 10 years. FASB wants them to put that on their balance sheet as a liability. Well, when a big company has to put a big debt on their asset sheet as a liability, it affects their ability to finance projects and other things. So the real estate industry is not very happy about that, and we're working very closely to try and minimize the impact. In process for about 3 years now. We expect to see a final version of the regulations from FASB in the next week or so. The Taxation and Government Finance Committee is also keeping their eye very closely on current legislation, trying to ensure that debt forgiveness stays in place for the first and second mortgages when it comes to foreclosure. I'm sure many of you are aware that the debt release for on mortgages that are foreclosed on is expiring at the end of this year, and we're working very hard to make sure that both at the federal level and at the state level that the borrowers are protected from that tax that comes when you have that mortgage debt relief. This can, of course, be a very big deal. A house gets foreclosed on for $400,000. It's sold for $250,000. There's actually $150,000 that could be taxed as income. Several years ago, the association fought to try and make sure that people weren't taxed on that amount, and that's expiring. It's sunsetting at the end of this year. So we're working hard to make sure that it gets reinstated. That may not happen until March or April of next year. So stay tuned to see where we end up on that. Another item that I want to talk about is the several bills in the legislature that would lower the approval threshold for a tax bill that's passed from 66% to 60% or 55% of the voters in different situations. We're very much trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. We feel that a bill that affects everybody should be passed by 66% of the vote. So we're working hard and monitoring the bills that are going through the legislature to enforce that. One other bill that's going through the legislature is AB 1963. This would lower the state sales tax from 6.25% to 4%. You might think that's a good deal, but when they do that, their intention is to lower to include in sales tax things like the real estate commissions. Imagine that you sell a property and there's a $10,000 commission to you. You might have to pay 4% of that to the government as a tax. And this is something that we're very closely watching. In fact, we have an opposed position. We've got amendments in to make sure that the provisions on real estate are removed from the bill. And if they are, we'll change our position to a watch position. Now, one last thing I'll talk to you about, because I know I'm running out of time, is that these things that are going on in the legislature cannot be dealt with unless we maintain contact with the legislators. And one of the ways we do that is through our political activities. I encourage you to be active in the local political scene. I encourage you to be active with your state and federal legislators. And don't forget to contribute to the Realtor Action Fund. We're going to be starting up a campaign here in the next few weeks, and hopefully we can get everybody to contribute something. 4% fees on your commissions will not in any way benefit your lifestyle. So support the Realtor Action Fund, support your association, and again, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be here with you. Hopefully I'll be there next time. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call about any of the areas I covered. Thank you.